Today, there's so much in our lives that influences us, our environment, the people around us. Sometimes we don't even know what's influencing us, and that's what we're here to talk about. Welcome to the Influence Today podcast with Chet Tart and Terry Lyle.
Influence Today, we're broadcasting from Venture X. And by the way, if you're listening to the show and you like it, please share it with somebody and please like it. And also, please give us your comments. We'd like to know how we're doing. And feedback is very, very important to us. Or feed forward. When feedback, okay, we made those mistakes, feed forward, tell us what you'd like to see in the future.
And send it anyway. Just send it.
I'm Chet Tart with Terry Lyles. We're here every single week. Hi, Terry. Welcome back.
It's great to be back in America. It's good to be here.
You were out of the country in Toronto.
I was in Toronto for 6 weeks and had we won a couple of races there with the IndyCar series, and my wife was able to go back to the Lion King and watch performers she used to perform with years ago, went backstage and did all that loving and hugging, and it was just a great time. Being with grandparents.
Was it hot?
No. It's 75 degrees. It's like our winter.
Oh, really?
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
You don't want to know. It was gorgeous. So I came back to, we live in South Florida, in case you don't know that, so it's nice and warm. But, yeah, I'm glad to be back. And
your book is about to come out.
It is. Well, it's out on pre-release now.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go to Terry Lyles Store and .com, terrylylesstore.com, and you can pre-order now. They're available, actually, but it's not physically released until September 10th, which is less than a month away now. So we're really excited about that. It's happening just before September 11th. There's some reasons for that, because I spent time at September 11th, at Ground Zero, and there's going to be a push for that. So I'm doing regular media every single day now leading up to that, and trying to get the book out to people to help them perform under pressure and handle life issues and stress every single day, which we talk about. So.
And we're going to talk about a couple of chapters and
what that's about.
How powerful it is in your life. We have a guest with us today.
We do.
You want to introduce your guest?
I do. A friend of mine. I grew up in Indianapolis. Chet, you spent some time there.
Yes, I did. Before it became a city, by the way.
Before we became a city, yep. Before we had real teams, sport teams, at least professional teams.
We had the Pacers and the Racers.
ABA, they were, but it was different. Yeah, it just wasn't like it is now. But Mark Timmons is our guest today from U.S. Water, that's based in Indianapolis, Indiana. And him and I are doing some business things together, and I've learned more about their business and what they're doing in the water area, which is fascinating to me. I do the biometric side of it, so I know more of the biochemistry side of bodies, but he is like that biochemistry of water. And one of the sharpest guys I've met, especially talking about water. So, Mark, thank you for being here today and just being a guest with us on Influence Today.
Hey, it's great to be here, Terry, and thank you very much for having me.
Yep. So tell us a little bit about U.S. Water, Indianapolis, how long you've been there, what you guys do, and whatever you want to share about what's unique about what you guys do and where you may be doing that and why it's different than other water filtration / treatment facilities.
Well, my elevator speech is, starts with, we do everything with water except walk on it. And it's really true. It's kind of what we do. We do residential, commercial, industrial water treatment. We do things from under the sink filters to countertop filters to laboratory water to water for craft beer brewing to water for growing cannabis and everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
Because, beer tastes better with good water. I mean, beer is 95% water. So
yes.
One of my favorite things is water is life. Beer is 95% water. Therefore, beer is life. And
it is.
I like that. Yeah.
I'm going to stick with that. But, also it's getting in the states where it's legal now, cannabis, you get an extra crop a year, at least an extra crop a year by having good, clean water. And it really, really helps the bottom line. And I'm not blowing smoke.
Yep.
So,
exactly.
That's something to think about. What makes us different is we started in our garage about 20 years ago. My wife and I did. And now we have about 45 employees. We are a minority woman-owned business. My wife happens to be a woman, and she's also a minority. She's a Filipino.
Mm-hmm.
She immigrated here when she was 3 years old, so owns the controlling interest of the stock. And we are a certified minority woman-owned business company. We're a full family-owned company. My son as our sales manager, and someday he's going to take over for me. And I think we just carry our family values through everything that we do. We have cutting edge technology in every facet of the business, and we have a true tech support department that is staffed from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and we handle problems that other companies can't even talk about. So we're an internet-based company. We sell all over the world, but we're a lot more than just an internet company. We have 250 years of combined experience here, and we try to treat people the way we like to be treated ourselves.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about how water is so important, because when people hear water and they say, "Hey, what kind of water do you drink?" It's all over the map. It's kind of like, what kind of air do you breathe? Depends on where you are. You're in a house, you're in a building, you're outside. There's carbon monoxide, and there's all the things that go on. So, tell us a little bit about the importance of knowing why water should be as pure as it is.
Well, it never ceases to astonish me how little attention is paid to water, and yet 70% of the human body is water.
Yes.
Water is so vitally important to all of our life functions, and I'm not going to mention any names, but we're in the process right now of we're doing a home for somebody who's rather famous, and the plumber at the home just took it on himself to install a water treatment system at the house. And when I went and looked at it, I was just appalled. It's like, new homes that might be in the $4 or $5 million range. They typically have your really nice audio-visual systems built in throughout the whole house, and they have HVAC systems that are just state-of-the-art, and theft systems, security systems, things like that. This is like do-it-yourself brain surgery, putting in just a filter and a water softener in a house where people have such high expectations. But we just don't do high-end homes. We do any home. But think about it. Over the last 50 years, we call this the Industrial Revolution. We have more problems with water than we've ever had in the past. We have more chemicals identified. We have more problems like PFOAs, if you're familiar with that. They're showing up in water supplies all over the country. We have Flint, Michigan, and that's just the tip of the iceberg.
And
there are
New
so
Jersey.
many things in the water that we don't know. We don't know the long-term effects of, and we're just finding out that they aren't good for us. And then the other side of the coin is, if we think the government is going to fix this, they might not be able to fix it unless they raise your water bill 500%, because our infrastructure is aging. 99% of the water that is used in a city is used for things other than internal consumption. So does it seem reasonable that we would treat all that water as if it were to be internally consumed? And I believe the answer is a resounding no. So it's up to each home to treat the water as they want it to be treated. And so lots of times we will take and put filtration, whole house reverse osmosis, so that people have bottle quality water coming right out of their faucets that they can shower in, drink, knowing it's 100% pure. That's what we do. We treat water at the point of use to the desired degree of purity that is needed.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, and if you just jumped on, and you caught us somewhere online or, on one of our outlets, this Influence Today, Chet Tart, Terry Lyles here. Mark Timmons is our guest from U.S. Water, based in Indianapolis. I had a question. We had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't have a chance to really ask you this, but I was outside the other day, and, we live in South Florida here, and a sprinkler hit me right in the face as I walked past. I was like, run, walk, kind of getting some exercise. And a sprinkler toggled and hit me in the face, and the smell of it
it comes from the lake,
and the taste of it was overwhelming. I mean, it was like I almost went to my knees. I mean, it wasn't like refreshing. I'm like, what is so strong in that water from a sprinkler head that does that?
Well, in South Florida, they have a lot of hydrogen sulfide in the water.
Yeah.
So it's a very high aquifer, and so you get some hydrogen sulfide, which is rotten egg odor, And,
yeah, that's it.
It's fairly common in Florida. I mean, we can solve that problem. We can eliminate that. But some people in their sprinkler systems, they don't care, even though their neighbors might. They don't.
Right. Well, and even if you get water from a sprinkler in your car, I mean, you almost can't wax it off.
Right.
I mean,
it's dirty.
It like changes the
color.
The color. It's like oxidizing. And I say that to say that if you're drinking water in your home and you don't really know what you're drinking, especially if you're using tap water, and as we know, the skin is the largest organ in the body. So taking a shower, washing your hands, washing your face, you're constantly bathing in some type of water. It's not just the hydration of what we drink, right? I mean, it's the immersion of water on our bodies as well.
Yeah, your skin is your largest organ, and there's an area of that skin that responds to clean water, and frankly, in different parts of the country, the water is quite different. I mean,
yes.
In the Midwest where we live, the water is very hard because we sit on limestone.
Yep.
So it has a lot of calcium and magnesium in the water. You want to have a water softener here. In parts of South Florida, the water is very hard. You want to have a water softener, but maybe the Carolinas, in upstate New York and places like that, the water doesn't have a lot of hardness in it. So there's a lot of people that don't understand, well, why is this water so bad? And then the cities are putting things like chlorine, chloramine, and things like that into the water that they serve a purpose. They kill the bacteria, but once they get to your house, it's not good for you. So we have the technology to take that out of the water to provide good, clean water. And we know that the long-term benefits of good, clean water are many. Multitudinous.
Yes.
Mark, I have a question. Let's go back in history. Were you always into the water? Did you have another job before that? I want to know what influenced you to sit in your garage and say, listen, this is what I'm going to do. So tell me about that influence. What influenced to change?
Let me go back and start at the beginning.
Yeah.
When I graduated from high school back in 1972, I was offered a scholarship at Ohio State University, and I turned that down to become a plumber. So that tells you about how bright I am, okay?
Tells you that you loved water.
No, but he's very bright. They make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I served a 4-year apprenticeship as a plumber and then said, I hate this.
Yeah.
And so from there I went, and my dad was in the water treatment business. He worked for a plumbing wholesale supply house. I talked to him, and I went out and I got in the water business. I went out and about starved to death my first couple of years, and finally figured out how to do it. And so fast forward to about 2001, I was working for a company out of Los Angeles. I was a national sales manager, and I had to leave due to illness. They were sick of me. And so
that works. I get it.
And so I said, okay, I'm done with this. We're just going to start our own business. So we started our own business in the garage, and here we are, almost 20 years later, and with about 45 employees and
That's
about
awesome.
50,000 square feet, and we're having a blast.
Yeah, and I think it's fascinating because we talk a lot about what influences our lives and who influences our lives, and that's always such a big part of what we talk about because without those influences, positive and negative, that shapes our lives. And hopefully, if we navigate accordingly, we can learn something and do great things with it. I know you guys are there in my home state, so it's really exciting to meet people from where you grew up. And,
hey, you talked
about doing it.
We really love it, and my son, who's 20, when he got out of high school, he went to Kelly School of Business for a year and a half, and then he dropped out. And I said, Dad, and I was disappointed that he dropped out, but
Right.
He said, Dad, I know what I want to do. I want to take over for you someday, and I learn more here than I do there, and I don't need that diploma with what I'm going to do.
Right.
And there's an interview that he did on his own, and at the end of the interview, he says, "Water treatment, it's in our veins."
I love it.
Wow.
I love it.
See, that's good marketing, man. That's good stuff.
Yep, he's a great kid, and he's just an extremely hard worker. And I was a little saddened that he didn't get a degree, but my oldest daughter did get degree. She has a degree in mortuary science, so that's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably another podcast we could do and talk about that. But you know what it is?
People are dying to get in that.
It's funny because we interview a lot of different people, and we just did an interview recently about how important education is. But education sometimes is not a college degree. It's life learning and following your passion, your heart, and doing what you feel like you've been called to do in your life. It's very important. Yep.
That's true.
Hey, Mark, before you leave, you mentioned family values. You must have your business driven by these values. Can you share some of them with us?
Well, it's kind of interesting. We don't bring a corporate approach to our business, although we over the years as we've grown, we've brought in corporate management and vice presidents and things like that from companies like Pentair and Badger Environmental and places like that. But we're pretty down to earth. I mean, at our company, today I'm sitting here in blue jeans. I've got a polo shirt on, a U.S. Water shirt, but we make a lot of time and ability for people to take time off to be with their family. We just say, be fair with us. We're not suckers. We're fair, but we're not suckers.
Yep.
And we've got a list of values. And I don't know if I can say this on the air or not, so I'll just give you the abbreviated version. But one of the values is we don't tolerate a-holes.
Right. Yeah. Good.
And that's one of our values. And of course, our HR people say, "Oh, you can't put that in there." Why?
Why? You're like, it's really important to us. We don't want to do that.
We don't tolerate snarky, divisive people. We're here to have fun.
Right.
Think about this. Here's what we do. We make people's lives better through water. Sometimes we save people's lives with water.
Sure.
And so what we're doing is a great thing. I mean, we get up in the morning and we're ready to go out and help the world, and it's a great thing. We have a blast here. We have fun. We're always looking for new technologies. My title now at 66 is I'm the visionary. Mm-hmm. But I'm always working 2-3 years down the road. I'm looking forward to things. I'm coming up with new systems, new ways of doing things, and hydration is a big thing that people are concerned about. I do want to dispel one myth. We've all heard the term reverse osmosis, yes. And there's a faction of people out there that say, "Well, you don't want to take the minerals out of the water. The minerals are good for you." Sounds logical, right?
Yep.
Don't want to take the minerals out. The minerals are good for you. Yeah, but there's 38,000 other chemicals that can potentially be in the water, and they aren't good for you.
Yep.
And so you don't have the ability to select some of these and not others. You're going to take it all out. You're going to strip everything out of the water. And at that point, you have reverse osmosis water, which has virtually nothing in it. People say, well, that's not good for you. Here's the point. Water is not a significant source of minerals. If you drink a bathtub a day, you might get 10% of what you needed. So you're thinking about the wrong thing if you're thinking that RO water isn't good to drink.
Right. Thanks for sharing that. That's
and that's the cool stuff that I love to hear because, from the science world I come from, everything is interesting to me. How do you prove it? How do you measure it? How do you validate it? And
the mystery to me is how you guys are working together. What are you guys doing?
Well, we'd have to kill you, Chet, and it's just what it is right now. But
it'd probably be a slow and torturous death.
It would be 1,000 cuts. Well, Mark and I we're doing some innovative things that I hope to be able to be announcing pretty soon on some of the biometric technology I'm utilizing with what they're doing with hydration.
I see. That's where it's coming from.
It's really cool stuff, and I'm really appreciative of their willingness to kind of open that, like Mark, you're the visionary, to open your mind up to say, there's a deeper way to prove to people what water is really doing in your body and not doing. It's one thing to say, well, I feel okay. It's another thing to go, but let me show you what your body says about that kind of water. So I'm really excited about it.
That's
Mark,
fascinating. We got to do a whole podcast on that.
We will. When we get it launched, we will do that. And Mark, tell us how people find you. Let's not leave without giving out your website or best contact info, whatever you want to say that people can get to you from a concern with water and wanting to know what your water treatment systems are really about.
There's really two ways. We have a blog called Ask the Water Doctors. I've been writing that for like 20 years.
Wow, cool.
So If you just Google Ask the Water Doctor, that'll come up. But we're uswatersystems.com.
Yeah.
We're not,
Okay.
uswatersystems.com. There's a few other companies that sound about like us, but we're US Water Systems. We specialize in water products that are made in the USA.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, not all of our products are made in the USA, but we have a very strong leaning toward that.
Yes.
And we build our systems right here in Indianapolis, Indiana.
That's awesome. Mark, thank you for being on with us today, and it was fascinating. I'm excited about what we're embarking on, and it's all about, bettering people's lives and health and safety of people's minds and bodies, and just really appreciate your articulation and willingness to come on and share a little bit about what you guys do. So thank you for being here today.
Mark,
thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Hey, and if you liked everything, we are on iHeart, we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, and please like it and share it with people. And Mark, you're going to have to share it also with all your people that this has been a great information podcast about water.
We'll share it on Facebook and
great.
all those other social media things.
Okay. Thank you. Another edition of Influence Today with Chet Tart and Terry Lyles. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you.